On the morning of June 17, 2016, Christoph Jentz's phone exploded with Slack notifications. Dozens of frantic messages lighting up his screen like alarms in the dead of night, followed by an urgent call that shattered the quiet. Heart pounding, he flipped open his laptop, pulled up the live transaction logs on the Ethereum blockchain, and watched in frozen horror as the numbers spiraled in a direction they were never meant to go. The smart contract he had poured his soul into building, every single line of code crafted with meticulous care, was hemorrhaging 12 million ETH. 15% of all Ether in existence at the time, draining away into the digital void, vanishing to somewhere he couldn't trace or stop. This wasn't just a glitch. This was the collapse of a revolutionary dream, unfolding in real time before his eyes. And the world was about to witness the biggest heist in crypto history, pulled off not with guns or masks, but with pure, unyielding code. To truly grasp the gut-wrenching betrayal Jentz felt in that moment, you have to rewind to where it all began. Back in 2013, when this brilliant software developer first devoured the white paper from a visionary 19-year-old named Vitalik Buterin, Jentz didn't just skim it. He absorbed every word, reading it once, then devouring it again like a man uncovering the blueprint for the future. What Buterin proposed was revolutionary. Not just another cryptocurrency ledger for recording transactions, but a fully programmable blockchain. A living platform where anyone could write unbreakable rules, lock them into self-executing smart contracts, and watch them run autonomously, forever, without banks, lawyers, governments, or middlemen pulling the strings. Fired up, Jentz slammed the document shut, fired up his laptop, and dove headfirst into coding. A smart contract wasn't some dusty legal document signed in triplicate. It was pure, immutable code deployed on the blockchain, holding real assets like digital vaults that enforced their own rules with ruthless precision. Once live, it was unstoppable. Even the creator couldn't touch it. His early experiments were simple at first, just a few hundred lines managing tiny amounts of Ether, releasing funds only under exact conditions he defined. He tested them relentlessly, and they worked flawlessly. Like vending machines on steroids. You insert your Ether, hit the conditions, and out comes the result. No favoritism, no delays, no bribes, no exceptions. But Jentz's vision went far bigger. Imagine these machines scaling to manage millions in investments, run decentralized votes, distribute funds across the globe. All transparently, instantly, and without a single human hand dipping in for a cut or twisting the rules. He had seen the old world crumble too many times. The 2008 financial crisis, where greedy bankers crashed the global economy and got bailed out by governments. Lawyers drafting contracts that only the elite could enforce. Code, though? Code was different. Code had no ego, no agenda, no backroom deals. It executed exactly as written every single time. By July 30th, 2015, when the Ethereum network officially launched, Jentz was there at the forefront, building, iterating, and fueling the fire. The mantra echoed through every developer forum, every late-night thread. Code is law. In the corrupt world of traditional finance, rules could be bent, reinterpreted, or ignored by the powerful. But here, on Ethereum, the people fleeing those broken systems demanded something pure. Code that didn't negotiate. Code that didn't play favorites. Code that didn't owe favors. Jentz embedded this philosophy into every contract he touched. It wasn't blind ideology for him. It was cold, hard engineering. The system's strength was its immutability. No one could interfere, not even him. That was the entire point. And now, he was about to test that philosophy to its breaking point. Early in 2016, sitting with his brother Simon and the team at Slock.it, Jentz posed a radical question that would change everything. If code could automate rules so perfectly, why not build an entire organization that way? Not a traditional company with CEOs skimming profits or boards making shady calls. A true decentralized autonomous organization. A DAO. The blueprint was elegant and terrifying in its simplicity. Investors sent Ether into a smart contract and received tokens granting voting rights. The code then executed whatever the majority voted on. No meetings, no managers, no human whims. Just pure, democratic automation. On April 30th, 2016, the crowdfunding launched, and it exploded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Day 1 was massive. Day 2, even bigger. Jentz sat at his desk at Slock.it, glued to the numbers, calling his brother every night as the flood of Ether poured in. In under a month, the DAO had raised a staggering $150 million, 12 million ETH. More than any single smart contract had ever held. The code was alive. The vision was real. For 2 blissful weeks, it hummed along perfectly as the team planned governance votes and fielded proposals from token holders. Jentz reviewed them all, answered questions, and savored what felt like the dawn of a new era. The contract held firm, executing flawlessly. This was success. Not fireworks, but the quiet satisfaction of a machine doing exactly what it promised. Then, on June 9th, the first crack appeared. Researcher Peter Vessenes dropped a bombshell post on Reddit and the Ethereum dev mailing list, exposing a fatal flaw in the withdrawal function. The code that let token holders cash out their Ether. The function sequence was the killer. First, send the Ether out. Second, update the sender's balance. That tiny gap between those steps? It was a loophole wide enough to drive a truck through. If you triggered the withdrawal and interrupted it right after the send but before the balance update, you could call it again. And the contract would still see the old balance, sending more Ether. Repeat that loop hundreds of times, and the entire vault emptied like a broken ATM, spitting cash non-stop while the ledger lagged behind. Tens of thousands had Ether locked in the DAO, but most never saw the warning. Jentz and his team spotted it immediately and scrambled for a fix. 3 days later, on June 12th, co-founder Stefan Twall posted a reassuring message. The specific vulnerability didn't apply to their DAO code. The funds were safe. Jentz read it, trusted his partner implicitly, and went back to work. 4 days remained before disaster struck. The contract had no pause button, no emergency kill switch, no admin override. By design, that immutability was its greatest strength, and now its deadliest weakness. On June 17th at 3:34 a.m. UTC, the exploit detonated. An anonymous contract deployed silently on the blockchain. No fanfare, no warning, just pure code going live in the public arena where anyone could watch but no one could intervene. It fired a single request to the DAO's withdrawal function. The DAO validated the balance and sent the Ether. Then the attacker called it again, and again, and again. Each loop was perfectly valid under the rules Jentz himself had written. Ether gushed out at lightning speed, far faster than any human could react, funneling into a child DAO subaccount. Roughly $50 million vanished in minutes. All while the code operated exactly as intended. Like a perfectly legal heist where the victim had handed over the keys and the getaway car. The Slack messages hit Jentz in waves. Then the calls. He stared at the logs, scrolling frantically, refreshing in disbelief. He traced his own withdraw function line by line and saw the gap staring back at him. The one he had coded and reviewed 100 times. There was nothing he could do. No freeze. No rollback. He had built it unstoppable on purpose. Desperate, he called community manager Griff Green, who had been monitoring the drain since dawn. They rang miners, exchanges, even Vitalik Buterin's team. Everyone piling onto frantic calls, but no one could touch it. The funds were locked in the child DAO under its own time lock rules. 27 days before anything could move. Jentz tried coding a counter-contract to neutralize it, but the child DAO's rules blocked every attempt. By late morning, the drain halted. Not from any heroics, but because the attacker paused. 3.6 million ETH sat there, a ticking time bomb that could crash Ethereum's entire value if released. Then came the attacker's letter, published openly like a legal manifesto. No name, no remorse. Just cold precision. The split DAO function permitted these recursive calls. Nothing in the contract prohibited them. The ether is rightfully mine, awarded by the explicit logic of the code. It invoked code is law verbatim. The very principle Jentz had championed. Any fork or rollback, that would be theft. They threatened lawsuits against the Ethereum Foundation and anyone involved. Jentz read it, reread it, feeling the words twist like a knife. Every argument, immutability, neutrality, finality was pulled straight from his own architecture. The attacker wasn't breaking the system. He was weaponizing it perfectly, quoting Jentz's philosophy back at him. Vitalik Buterin, the platform's creator, faced the same nightmare. 27 days to decide Ethereum's fate. A soft fork was proposed first, to freeze the attacker's funds without rewriting history. Griff Green rallied miners, tracking commitments at breakneck speed. It looked promising until Cornell professor Emin Gün Sirer exposed its fatal flaw. An attacker could spam the network with cheap transactions, grinding Ethereum to a halt. The soft fork died. That left the nuclear option. A hard fork at block 1,920,000. The chain would split. On the new branch, stolen funds redirected back to victims. The attacker left with nothing. On the old chain, the code remained untouched. The heist intact. Buterin published the proposal, arguing the DAO was just an experiment. The protocol had to survive. The debate erupted like wildfire across Reddit, forums, and Twitter. Pro-fork voices said one contract's failure shouldn't doom the network. Anti-fork purists warned that rewriting history once meant it could happen again, turning the blockchain into an editable database controlled by the mob. Arvico, a veteran dev, thundered that majority overrides destroyed the chain's only value. Jentz, haunted by the letter citing his own words, voted for the fork. Not out of lost faith, but to save the system from its own weaponized purity. The vote passed overwhelmingly. 1 ETH, 1 vote. On July 20th, 2016, at block 1,920,000, the chain fractured forever. Jentz watched two parallel universes emerge from the same history. Ethereum, where victims reclaimed their funds. And Ethereum Classic on the untouched chain, where the attacker still held 3.6 million ETH. The split exposed the fracture lines in the community. Believers in the same code is law who now interpreted it in opposite ways. The attacker's funds remain frozen in plain sight, tainted forever by blockchain analytics firms. Every move instantly flagged. No name, no face, no arrest. Just addresses and a trail too precise for coincidence. The attacker knew the code, the philosophy, the law, crafting a letter that preempted every counter-argument. This wasn't random. It was surgical. In the aftermath, the DAO hack didn't just steal $50 million. It birthed an entire industry. Smart contract auditing exploded from non-existent to a multi-hundred-million-dollar profession. Every major DeFi project now budgets fortunes for audits. A direct invoice from that fateful June morning. The ghost fund sits untouched. A permanent reminder. The code worked perfectly. The loophole was legal. And in the end, code truly was law. Until the community decided to rewrite the story and save itself.